Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this podcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Monday, January 6, 2024, as we march into what could be a month of disclosure. Yes, we've got another whistleblower coming out, talking about UFOs, talking about sightings they've seen, and more importantly, reaching out and getting confirmation back that they can come forward and speak with Tim Burchett. A lot of great things to talk about tonight, friends. A lot of great things we got. On that note, let me go ahead and jump into the studio and get the drums going and welcome in our audience. Who the heck do we have out there? Let me go ahead and take a look at our participants. Who's out there? There we go. We have Anne Marie, Anton Ghost, Azrael Aries here. Welcome, my friends. Barry West, along with Billy Boo, Blazing Thug. And if you're wondering how am I knowing these people are here, these are friends that are in the chat. Go ahead and say something in the chat. And as long as you're alphabetically in front of me, I'll pick you up. Okay, Blazing Thugs here, along with Brian Morgan. We've got Cindy Fieldhaller, Conniving Bones, good to see you, my friend. New interesting name. We got Corky Castle Long Shadows here, along with Craig and Craig Smith. We've got Curmudgeon, Alaska. That's a good one. Dave's he is here, along with David Williams. We got Deborah Clear. Good to see you, Deborah, as well as Dave C. Who else is out there? We've got Dragon Rider FPV. Deborah Clar is around, along with Eric Groth and the Gurus. Would you look at that? We've got Fernando's here, along with Felston. We got Fink Ployd, Firefly, Florida Patriot, Frank Cathel. Good to see you, Frank, along with Frank Einstein. Also, we have Geraldine, Ghost Fixer, Great Awakening, Gray Hairs around, along with Heritage Metal Detecting. At least I'm kind of going gray, but not that gray yet. I'll put a star on the calendar for how long that lasts for. We have Heritage Metal Detecting here, along with Hot Foot Hits, Jack Gingers, Jake Not from State Farm, along with Jared Scott, J-Cat, Jeff Carrero, Jemwa04, Joker, Mojo, Johnny UFO. I also see Justin Cesarez. Kane's here, along with Kathy Cowan Soul, Lakota 3121. We got Larry Sandell, Lee Bremby. Did I miss it? Did I miss her? Kelly Broughton, those piercing blue eyes. You know you're out there somewhere, Kelly. We've got Larry Sandell, Lee Bremby, Little Rock, also Legends of Boxing. We've got Litz here, along with Lisa Murray. Good to see y'all. Little T, Lon, Lord McCormick here, all the way from the United Kingdom. Good to see you, Lord. Marcus Mandel is here. Good to see you, my friends, along with Marty Kin, Marvin the Martian, Matt Ramone, Michael J. We got Michael Turtleman. Any relation to... No, I won't go there. All right, who else we have there? Yes, Mitch McConnell, of course. Michelle Summers, Michelle Hung, Mick Mix here, along with Mighty Chiaps. I see Minopoo. Not really, but Mr. Joey B, along with Nancy Kuzmano, Nicholas Yerix here, along with Nikki Lilly. I see Niles Guy, Omar Alia, Paul Damon, Paul Johnson, Rainstorm Hunter, Rainbow, also known as Jane. I see Ram Alcantara. Good to see you, my friend. Also, Rebecca Curry, Rezo8. Rick Doty is in the chat, and he's in the back. Perfect person to be talking about some friends in the Air Force coming forward and disclosing. We've got Right Meow, Roland Gibbs, Rough Ready, Sel Poncio, Sam's here, along with Sutter Jute. Save My Republic, Sessions 101. I see John Rose, Sean Ryder, Shawanda 20, Shinobi Wan Kenobi. Smoking Dark is here, along with Space Coast Flight, Starburst, Stephen Forbes, Steve C, Steve Goss. Good to see you, my friends. Steve Hines, Steve Leap, Super Unknown. Talash is here, along with Tamisha Bertrand. Thanks for reaching out, my dear friend. Always great to see you. Terrence Wills is here, along with Terrence Bruce, the Chromosome Cowboy, the Invisible Redneck. Didn't know they could be invisible, but I am writing that one down. Tim Tracy's here along with time traveling schizophrenic. Be careful. Too much time travel can be schizophrenic for your thought process. Toxic Revenger is here. Troy along with Vincent Parlante. Viper Tech, Wesley Sissons, Will Underwood, Yankee 58, and Micah or Mika Chan. How about that? I made it through it, everybody, along with the drums being way too freaking loud. Sorry, everybody. On that note, it's time to go ahead and welcome in our back chat. Who the heck do we have there? Let's take a look and see. First person I want to welcome is coming from the city that never sleeps. That would be all the way in Bangkok, Thailand. Let's welcome in our new single man. Hey, how's it going, Corporal Abe?
It's wonderful to be back. Fresh start to the new year. Excited to welcome in 2025 and get things rolling.
Absolutely, my friend. Thanks to great having you here. Our next friend I want to welcome in is from the great state of Indiana. Let's welcome in Daryl Zernick. How's it going, Daryl?
Hey, Tom's doing great. Looking forward to tonight's show.
Oh, absolutely, my friend. You get any snow by you yet?
It's not anything to speak of. It's just 19 degrees out.
Oh, there you go. Nice and chilly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming in, my friend. Also, setting our sights to the Great White North, we've got two friends coming from the city, the country where all the U's are silent. First, let's welcome in FreezerMan71. How's it going, FreezerMan?
Hello, Thomas. Great to see you guys.
Good to see you as well, my friend. Also, I want to welcome in Michael Sukloff, also from Canada. How's it going, Michael?
Well, it's going good, except I hate to break it to you, Thomas. You can't see you in the back.
I can't what?
Can't see you in the back.
Oh, yes, I've heard it's possible.
Have a good show.
Thank you, my friend. Also want to welcome in. Let's turn the world upside down and shake it like a snow globe. And who pops out? It's actually none of your business, but it's actually Susan Ford. How's it going, Susan?
Oh, it's really good, Thomas. Happy to be here and looking forward to a show.
You know,
Sorry,
I don't know.
Missed your last one.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm sorry, my dear lady. You know, I don't know where I got that snow globe one, but it's just so perfect for you.
Well, there's no snow here.
Yeah. Well, true. That's why it's a snow globe. It's a snow globe. Here you go. Well, thank you for coming in, my dear lady. Also in the back, we've got Mr. Rick Roberts. Mr. Survey is back. How's it going, Rick?
I'm doing good. I'm just getting through the flu.
Oh, nice new outfit. Nice new look, a new outfit for the new year. You've upgraded.
Thank you.
Yes, Ab. It looks like a little twitch going on there with that left eye of yours, but hopefully you'll be doing better, my friend. Also want to Exactly. Also want to welcome one of our friends. TVT is back for some more abuse. How's it going, TVT? Maybe not. Well. Wrapping up the last of our friends in the back, we've got a special guest tonight, Mr. Rick Doty. How's it going, Rick?
I'm doing great. Great to be here tonight. I beat you in temperature there, Daryl. We're 18 degrees, but our wind chill factor is 5 degrees.
Oh,
A little
foiled by 1 point.
Oh, God. That's why I live in the Pacific Northwest. Not too hot, not too cold, just cloudy and rainy a lot. Could be worse. Thanks for coming in today, Rick. And that wraps us back to the one, the only Mr. Wonderful, Mike Disclosure. How's it going, Mike?
Oh, it's going well. This is going to be a very interesting Monday night show.
Yeah.
And we are going to have a lot to talk about. And you know what's interesting is what I'm noticing is now that we started off January of the new year.
Right.
Within a very short couple of days, we're getting the Air Force whistleblower who blew up the Tesla in Las Vegas, and we're getting the whistleblower we're going to be covering tonight. And there seems to be a lot of information that's starting to break now that we're in 2025. So it's going to be an interesting year. I think Ross was right when he said the shit's going to hit the fan this year.
Yeah. Now, people are saying someone's got double audio. Oh,
I haven't heard it.
I shouldn't have it here. I was
No.
getting Mike a little bit back going through it or something. So if it was, is the audio fine, audience? I think we're good. I don't see the
We got
audience
no video
complaining.
from you, Thomas, though. There's no video that we can
Oh,
see
no
of you.
video in the back. That's what it is. There you go. How about that, everybody in the back? We're set. Yeah, I had us.
See you now.
We got you now, my friend. But I've been watching you anyway, so the audience has been there. Thanks for clarifying that. Sorry about that, Mike, getting there. But yeah, a lot of things going on, starting with the first whistleblower, if we want to, actually, the unfortunate soldier suffering from PTSD who blew his ass up in front of the Trump Hotel driving a Tesla. That guy, right, Mike?
That's the one.
That's
he
the
rented
one.
the Tesla, yeah.
Yeah. But before that, I we have some serious things to talk about here tonight. Disclosure tonight is serious about not being serious. So as if anyone who out there follows UFO Twitter out there, you may have seen this. There's been a new statement coming out that to prepare for 2025 disclosure, we've been told to strap in like you're going to be going on a roller coaster. Remember, 2024 was supposed to be the year that we're going to buckle up because big things are happening. Let's just doesn't hope that 2025 doesn't turn out to be like 2024, because strap in is going to become a strap on, and everyone who's fighting for disclosure is going to end up getting screwed, right, Mike?
That's absolutely right, Thomas. So let's avoid that for this year. But, again, like I just stated, this year seems to be off to a bang already.
Yeah, it does. It does. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a strap on. I'd rather have a strap in, honestly, tell you the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
I'm
So
with you.
I've got the DVR paused, or not really the DVR, but I will call it a DVR. It's my cable box has now been paused. And we've got a clip coming to us from Cuomo on News Nation, where they're talking about the unfortunate Green Beret who blew his ass up in Vegas, probably from PTSD, and wanted to get the information out about UFOs and drones and such in the cover-up. We've got another story that's going to be tying into that goes along with someone who was in the Air Force standing up for that soldier, and also bringing out additional information about disclosure. So disclosure is happening. Before we get to that, we've got a story on, again, Cuomo from News Nation getting in, and Lou Elizondo is going to be joining him, as well as a former member of the CIA, to go ahead and talk about the situation, what's been going on, and their analysis, and this talk about drones and UFOs and stuff. It's a perfect place to have Lou Elizondo. And plus, as it's being brought out in this broadcast, this could be a primer for Lou's potential role in the Trump administration. On that note, let me go ahead and play this one. Here we go, everybody.
All right, we now know that the suspect in the New Orleans attack visited the city twice in the weeks leading up to it, and recorded video of the area using Meta smart glasses as he rode a bike through the French Quarter. Authorities are confident he acted alone. Seems to make sense. Sadly, everyone I talk to says it's amazing we haven't seen more of these until now, and we should get ready for more, given what is reverberating out of the Middle East. And don't be surprised if they're in places we haven't seen them before. But we get what that's about. We've lived it, sadly. The Vegas guy with the Tesla Cybertruck that exploded in front of a Trump hotel in Vegas, that's different. A lot of unanswered questions. Some legit, some I think maybe not legit. Vegas police released notes that this active duty Green Beret left on his cell phone. Here's what they revealed, at least in the press conference.
This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives? Why did I personally do it now? I need to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I took.
Okay, first.
Now, one thing to remember. This email has been verified that it's real, this manifesto, if you want to call it, by the FBI. They believe it's fully real, the last that we've heard. Let's move on with this. Lord McCormick, I have to wait until we get past this part, if that's all right with you. Thank you.
First of all, it would still be an act of terrorism because he obviously has a political agenda. That's the wake-up call, right?
Yeah,
Now, can two things be true at once? Yes. He could have had a political agenda that was terroristic in its nature because it involved violence, and also have been sick and emotionally in distress because of what happened in service and maybe in his personal life as well. Leading us in that direction, also released Friday, a podcast with a man claiming to have received an email from the suspect the day before. I don't know why we're calling him a suspect. You know it was him. Anyway, supposedly it came the day before he blew himself up. And it's supposedly a manifesto, but it really sounded very different than what we just heard from the cell phone. Listen.
And when I started reading this, my initial take was, okay, this is off the deep end. It's bonkers. I can't validate or verify any of the stuff in this manifesto. He said, in case I do not make it to my decision point or onto the Mexico border, I am sending this now. What we have been seeing with drones, he puts that in quotes, he says drones, is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China and the East Coast, but throughout history, the U.S. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. I've been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know I am armed and I have a massive VBID.
Now, look, I like the idea that everybody's the media. I think that we should have a very engaged public, but that's not how you do the job, okay? We don't even know that it's from the guy, all right? News Nation, we would not have just put it out. You got to try to corroborate that it's even from this guy before you're going to start just reading about how there's all this technology and things and threats and things. I mean, now look, that is the difference between just straight provocation and journalism, okay? So I see it as a question. Is this just a mentally unstable guy who was making things up? Or is there more here? And now I turn to better minds instead of just open conjecture.
You for the super chat.
Former CIA and FBI Special Agent Tracy Walder, and the man who ran the Pentagon's unit that studied UAPs, what we call UFOs now, my friend Luis Elizondo. First question, totally personal and totally off topic. Elizondo, are you going to work for the administration?
Can I buy a vowel, Chris?
You know you want to know, Tracy. You know you want to know, too. Don't pretend like you're just waiting your turn. Look, there's been a lot of talk, and I got to tell you, Luis, it buoys the spirits of many, me included. You know what you're talking about. Your service record is impeccable. You care, and I've heard they're asking you. Is there anything that you can share at this point? And don't pretend you have a communication problem and that you can't get the signal straight.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Chris.
Yes, hey, I knew it.
I've always made it very clear that my loyalty is to the United States government and to the American people. If my country asks me to put my boots back on and serve, I will do so. I am in the process of making some recommendations to some individuals that hopefully will help add some clarity to not just my old issue, which was UAPs, but now the drone issue. Unfortunately, our government is woefully behind this topic, and as we're seeing now in Ukraine and Russia, drones are being weaponized and used quite effectively as weapons.
All right, so let's unpack what we know and what we don't know. Tracy, the suggestions that he may not have been working alone, his social media accounts were changed after the event, and that he's putting out this manifesto. Do you believe that this was some larger concerted action, or do you believe that this is really just speculation wanting for any real proof?
Well, thank you for having me, Chris and Luis. I hope you do serve in the administration. Look, I believe exactly what you talked about. I think this was released for provocation, and that is hugely problematic. The SAC Evans in Las Vegas even said that they couldn't verify where this had come from, though they suspected it may be from him, and that's problematic. You don't run with something like that and then give it no context. Not to mention the fact that, in my opinion, and statements made by his ex-girlfriend, who is a nurse as well, he may have been suffering from mental health issues, and to just release release it and then basically go away, which is what Sean Ryan said he was doing after releasing it, is hugely problematic because you are not providing any context, any information to really go into this issue of, drones from China as well as war crimes that he alleged by the UN, which are very serious allegations. So I think this is a mixture of PTSD, but also things that Levelsberger actually really experienced when he was in Afghanistan. I think the most heartbreaking part of this is him trying to almost absolve himself of the lives that he took.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got to respect his service, and we all know in this conversation right now how much unspoken truth there is about what we demand of men and women who do the jobs in the theater of war and what they come home with and what gets respected and what doesn't. However,
really quick, if I could jump in, Corporal Abe, I'm seeing some emotion icons coming on. Do you want to? Any
I don't really want to
thoughts?
talk. I'm tearing up because she's right. He was fucked up for more, and he was reaching out in a really fucked up way. That's all.
Yeah, I got you, my friend. Plus, he don't forget he was also going through his I believe his girlfriend at that time was cheating on him. So a lot of things just hit the poor guy all at once.
That's just like if you chalk that up to the game when you're in that level and in the military and you're still active, that's just what happens. I have 3 children, and out of the 3 children, I have 2 children with one woman. And she was an amazing woman, an amazing mother. She just got tired of me getting ready to go to a combat zone and having to explain it to the kids. And it wore her down so much that she left because she didn't want me to deploy. That was it.
Yeah.
So, and that burned me out. That made me leave the Army because she took the kids and took off. So, it's easy for a guy who's been in that long, just one thing, a bad relationship, boss piss you off, somebody die in combat. And that's it. That's the end of the show. And it happens to a lot of us who think that we've been doing this warship for a long time and they would come up with different plans to rotate guys in and out and get us better help. But we don't. It's a larger conversation about the VAs and I don't even want to go there. So,
And they're clearly not helping guys who have PTSD. It's not being treated right. The amount of time it takes them to get care is just delayed. And a lot of soldiers that are out there rely on their peers and fellow veterans who used to be part of, if you want to call it, part of the services as well. And there's this network of people who are on call 24/7, or if anyone needs help, they'll call. But it sounds like his head was just down a different direction where help coming from him, there was no option at that front.
I got out in 2014 and my mom made me go. My mom and I'm still with my fiance at the time. They made me go to the VA, and that was no go. They went with me to the VA, and it was a no go. And it wasn't until 2019, actually 2020, that I got into Wounded Warrior program. I had to leave the state. I had been to multiple VAs. And that's when the VA started, just helping me a little bit. Just helping me a little bit, me and my family, just a little bit.
I got you, my friend.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah,
thanks for that.
Absolutely, thank you, Tia. Before I move on,
there were all these media heads talking that we needed a whistleblower to come out, and most likely this whistleblower was going to have to come from the military. He's going to have to walk out and say a whole bunch of shit that was going on, and most likely would either end up killing himself or being killed. So we have that exact scenario, except for somebody who's obviously extremely well in tradecraft. He obviously wasn't insane because
he was going through heavy duty PTSD, which it brings you out of sanity for somewhat.
I get it, but it's easy for everybody to say that he had PTSD. It's easy for that cloud to be over him instead of just believing that maybe this guy knew what he was talking about.
He was dealing with some heavy duty depression with a lot of things going on. A lot of stuff went wrong in his life. And anytime anyone is going to go ahead and take their life, there's something that's not exactly aligned properly. Let's just leave it at that. I don't want to debate whether the guy had it or not, but he was a soldier, and we should just,
I'm sure he did have it. But I don't think that should negate whether or not what he's saying was happening. And
well,
obviously
sometimes
he
when
had
people like
something-
PTSD, namely Jason Sands, will go out and say a whole bunch of different stuff that potentially didn't happen to try and bring into it. And then sometimes there's a blurred line between what reality is and what thought is. So either way, I appreciate your comments, Tia. Thanks. Let's go ahead and continue on with this video clip here.
Tracy, do you have any reason to believe that he had any kind of position back here at home that would have availed him of any information like what he suggests?
You know, look, in my opinion, no. So I was speaking before about the fact that I was the very first person at the CIA to fly armed drones into Afghanistan. And look, I could see that people might think that program was crazy, right, at the time in 2001. Now it's our norm, right? He was working on mechanics of drones as well as some of the electrical of drones. I do not believe doing that would have given him access to what he's alleging. He's also talking about how, you know, they had no payload capacities. I don't think that that's feasible. Again, I don't have my top secret clearance anymore, so there could be information that I am not necessarily privy to, but I do not believe that he would have been cleared into those. I am not diminishing his service in any way, shape, or form. I just don't believe that he would have had those clearances.
And yes,
Chris,
you guys at home.
Can I jump on that too?
Tracy did work for the FBI, the CIA, and flew drones. Very cool. It's okay to feel that. Luis, what do you know about his speculation about what kinds of capabilities there are?
Well, see, therein lies part of the problem, because when you are in a tactical environment as what we call a special operator or a tier 1, tier 2 unit, you do have access to drones, but they're not the type of drones that Tracy's familiar with flying. They're not the warheads on foreheads type that we often use in the prosecution of the global war on terror. They're more tactical. They're very light based. Most of them are less than 50 pounds. They have very little payload capability, very little loiter capability. And most of these are not fixed wing, although there's a few variants of it. But these things are basically designed to be thrown into the air, look at the battle space really quick, make a split level second decision, and then go into combat. The type of drones that seem to be referred to in this email, which, by the way, we haven't verified if it's really him who even wrote that email, right? They seem really, there's some incongruencies there between the manifesto and the email. It makes me scratch my head, because usually a special operator isn't going to be somewhere like Tracy is, somewhere, I won't say where, but, you know, flying a drone thousands of miles away. That's typically not the role of a special operator, in this case, a Green Beret, Army Green Beret. So it leaves me there scratching my head. And then some of the vernacular, some of the verbiage that's used in the email is not really consistent with the special operator. There's some Army and military parlance, but there's a couple things that are off. The way they refer to certain units and the way they do business, that's not really the way a special operator would talk. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe this is some sort of psychotic episode. Look, PTSD is real. I get it. A lot of my colleagues have suffered from it, and it is very debilitating. And maybe this person here thought what we're calling a terrorist act. Maybe they thought they were doing a protest, right? But with that said, at the end of the day, I think we have to let the FBI do its job and really tease out the information. I think it's a little too premature to make a conclusive statement that this email is definitely tied to the manifesto that was apparently or allegedly found in the burnt out vehicle.
And just to make a point that we will make very often here on News Nation, and we were one of the first to ever make it, wouldn't be having to ask these questions if the government were more transparent about what is flying around in the air all over this country. And they can certainly do a lot better than they're doing without giving away national security. Tracy Walter, thank you very much. Mr. Elizondo, I look forward to having access to you until I do not. Thank you very much, both of you, for being here, and I wish you the best for the new year.
There we
Thank
go.
you for sharing.
On that note, we've got some veterans in the back with their hands up. Let's start with Daryl Zernick. Daryl, go ahead.
Thanks, Thomas. So I don't know if you were one of the 35,000 people that joined the Sean Ryan spaces last night, but he had brought in a bunch of people that were Green Berets, experts in explosives, experts in crypto technology, all sorts of other things. And I could just sum it up in that at the end of the 2.5 hour broadcast or spaces, it was a very somber tone, because what was talked about was the fact that this guy, it had been relayed to the FBI that his meds had changed within the last week or two. And all these people that were in this, a lot of these people that were speakers in the spaces were like, we've seen this happen time and time again, that when people go off their meds or they change their meds, that crazy things happen. And they basically, it was a somber thing. And I think pretty much Sean Ryan and the guy that brought this out initially were like, wow, maybe we should have held off on this, because this is looking more and more like somebody just went a little crazy.
Yeah. It can happen. People can go over the edge and they're not sure which way is up. And the ending, sadly, a lot of times turns out how it turned out. Well, the result of it, at least. But yeah, right. Thanks for your insight on that, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Abe, Corporal Abe. I guess not. Lord McCormick?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh, Abe, go ahead. You first.
Yeah, go ahead, Abe. I'll jump in later. Thanks, Mark. Matt. The lady said something about his classifications, and I kind of disagreed with her. Like I was really young and new in the military, and I received a high classification. It was just because of my job. It had nothing to do with my rank, and that's just like what Mike D said earlier before the show. Rank doesn't have anything to do with classifications. And what you see in the military, he could have been exposed to some really classified stuff, and it really didn't have anything to do with his rank. So, he was a special operator, and that job comes with a high level of classification. So I'm not sure where she was getting at. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Let's go to Lord McCormick.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Good to be with you this evening. Hope you're all doing well. I won't go into the manifesto, because as a lot of you guys have already covered, it's not really been confirmed if it's legitimate or not, or who sent what and blah, blah, blah. But when this event happened, especially the one at the Trump with the Tesla truck, I kind of, my sort of like, my back senses ticked up a bit. So I started to collate a bit of video from what we've got. I'm not the only person to do this. And there's a couple of I call them red flags, but these are things that I've marked off. Apparently the guy in the Tesla truck, the veteran that, he was active service, wasn't he?
I believe so, Mike. Was he active?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, active service, Green Beret, Special Forces. Yes, sir.
Well, rest in peace, that soul. He apparently, in the truck was found a Desert Eagle, a burnt Desert Eagle, which the local sheriff's department has released images of this gun. Now, as far as I know, and Corporal Abe and maybe Dal and maybe Ed, with their experience, now that's either a 44 or 50 cal.
That's correct.
This was a 50 caliber.
It was 50, but they do come in both. They do come in both calibers. Small.
Okay, so the narrative is he's pulled up, detonated. We don't know. I mean, even they're saying one of the explosive guys, I think, was one of the federal agents. I think might have been with the is it tobacco and firearms guys? He was at one of the press conferences, and he mentioned that he had to be careful of what he said because it was inconclusive. He said that the IED was kind of basically petrol cans and fireworks, but footage has shown that if you break it down frame by frame, and has been looked at, that the blast came from almost in front of the driver of the vehicle, and that he was sat upright. Now, if you're taking your own life with a high caliber gun, or that's your intention to take your own life, but you're sat in a vehicle with a bomb that you're about to detonate, you see that flag to me, for me personally, why go through the drama of trauma of shooting yourself apparently in the head, as we're told, but he's not slumped, he still has a head. We're talking about it, so we need to talk about it. And then you've got what no one else I've seen on mainstream talk about is the connection to Fort Bragg that both of these guys had. And And then you've also got, the passport. The passport's always found, isn't it? No matter how big the explosion or the event, you're always going to find the passport. And also, this is a bit bizarre. Has anyone seen the CNN's anchor? She had, how you show up to work? You're meant to be a reporter and you're showing up in leggings and runners. I don't know. She had access to the guy's house.
Yeah, multiple reporters did, and they walked around, going ahead as they're walking, pointing around stuff before.
And the doors ajar, and it looks like something from a theme park.
Before the ATF took over the site to go ahead and do their analysis, the FBI was allowing the media to come in and film.
And is that normal procedure?
No, it's not. It's called incompetency coming from the FBI, which seems to be rampant. Like the Secret Service.
That's just my thoughts, guys,
right.
On that one. My heart goes out to everybody. Koplo, good to see you. Daryl, all of you guys in the house at the back there, respect. And also Mike Disclosure, respect.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Ed Brown, your hand is up, my friend.
Yeah, I was going to back us up to Daryl's comments, too. I was on that, listening on that presentation last night in Spaces. I came up with a slightly different interpretation at the end. I came up with the belief that they believed what they did was accurate, that they should have done it, just in full disclosure. That's sort of what I took from it. But they went out of their way to justify why they did it, and I thought they did a very good job convincing us that it was a valid email from him. You get that, Darryl?
Oh, sorry, Lord McCormick. You're talking.
I was going to come back to some of the comments that Lord McCormick made. I agree, and I think the big thing that we really need to look at is how could he have possibly have killed himself and then activated the explosion? It just doesn't make any sense at all. Someone held up their hand in the back, and on the text put in there, Danny Davis has a really good podcast on that. Where he shows the pictures very clearly. This guy was not dead when that explosion went off, but he was instantly dead probably after the explosion went off because it was really right in front of him.
Exactly.
He also justified the passport and the driver's license. If it had been in his back pocket, there is a good possibility his body would have protected him from being burned. So it's a few points. The important thing that I think we haven't really addressed is whether he's crazy or not. Was it accurate in what he said? The whole issue of gravitic propulsion.
Yeah, time will tell, I guess. Absolutely.
That's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate that. Daryl, go ahead. Daryl, you there?
Yes. No, I just wanted to say to Ed, yes, you're correct. I read into that. They did say on multiple occasions that they would do the same thing if it happened again. But I have a feeling they wouldn't, just because of the way this has all turned out. So I did read into that, to be honest with you.
And to Tamisha's comment, I'm not trying to throw him underneath the bus and saying everything that he wrote was because he was crazy. He was clearly clear in a bunch of different areas, but he was also dealing with a troubled deck of cards, a troubled hand of cards. Right, Daryl?
That seems to be the conclusion of most people. I mean, again, I would take a lot of stock in what Corporal said. I was not in the military, just so you know, but everything that Corporal is kind of intimated, I came away from that Spaces wanting to contribute to helping people, because it was more apparent to most everybody in there, because they really picked apart that manifesto, especially on the latter part where they're talking about what the atrocities that happened, and they all these experts felt that there's no way that this guy could know this, that it was something that was supposed versus something that he actually experienced.
Exactly. Well, thanks for the insights, Daryl. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Rick Roberts, last person before I get on to the top headline for tonight.
Hey, I'd love to see a survey. I mean, I'm going down the conspiracy route. Like Lord pointed out, there was a lot of different things that were said about this, and possibly, I mean, they show him cleaning the Tesla. Like, why are you cleaning the Tesla if you're about to blow it up? Let's survey the audience. Do you think
don't you remember the line of always change your underpants before you go out, because in case you get in a car accident, you want to go to the hospital wearing dirty underpants?
PTSD will make you do OCD type stuff too.
Yeah.
Well, what does the audience think? Though? Do they think that this is
if we can
Corporal Matthew? Or
I know we could get to that, but I'd rather get on to the next story if I could, Rick, on this one.
Sure.
Thank you. British last person with their hand up on this, and then we're moving on to the top story for tonight.
Hey, Thomas. Yeah. I watch the Sean Ryan show and I enjoy it for entertainment value. It always kind of worries me that it's very conspiratorial. Everything is based on agents and special forces and Green Berets and Navy SEALs uncovering.
Unfortunately, the guy who took his life out was Green Beret.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm keeping my speculation on the whole thing down to the email conversation, not what everybody else is reading into it, but I hear where you're coming from.
Yeah, well, the manifesto, as we keep hearing, I don't think that's a manifesto. By definition, it was just an email, right? I worry that people have gone straight to the conspiracy theory aspect as opposed to the sick dude who,
Have you heard us go down the conspiracy theory route yet?
Oh, no, not you guys. And that's
Bingo.
That's Thomas. That's why I'm here. You're one of the few shows that I would bother my ass ringing in for, right? Yeah. Because you guys look at the whole picture. But the concern I have is Sean Ryan has 3 million viewers, most of whom seem to have totally bought into everything he says. And that's a lot of people, right?
Yeah. We can say that about Joe Rogan, about a lot of different people. So a lot of people listen to it. You can't say everyone always aligns with everything 100% because like a lot of people in our audience, sometimes they go along with what we say. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're in all the way. Sometimes they're not.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give my personal view. I don't think there's a chance in hell that it's China flying drones to the USA. But that's just me.
Okay. Cool, man. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, getting to it. Here we go, folks. Now, Sean Ryan last night went and posted a, let me get it up here. Let me get her out of the way. Let me fix this over a little bit so we can see a bit more. Went and posted a link on his Twitter account for his space that he had last night that everyone's talking about. Coming in response to that message, or to that tweet, there was someone by the name of Michaela Fachar. We've had a Michaela in our chat before. Probably not the same one, but just saying. I'm blowing the whistle. I'm done listening to this. Now, this is going to be interesting, folks. My name is Michaela Fachar. I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran, 1 and 0, all-source analyst. From October 2020 to 2021, I was deployed to a CENTCOM Air Operations Center at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. I was an E4 at the time, and my job was to process mission reports, also known as MISREPs, from pilots conducting sorties within CENTCOM theater. What does CENTCOM stand for, my friends? Corporal Abe or Rick?
Central Command.
Central Command.
Central Command.
All right.
Central Command.
CENTCOM theater. My job was to report on daily significant, let me get this here, daily significant activity reports, or SIGACs, and publish graphic intel summaries to all units in CENTCOM. Yes, Abe?
1 November, Oscar, Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's the ATSC code for Air Force Intelligence, though, right?
Yeah, that's the Air Force Specialty Code.
Yeah, she's intelligence.
You're right. Yeah, she's in intel.
Yeah. So all your units in CENTCOM. Task forces reported a ton of UAP activity, but because we had no framework of reporting those requirements, we didn't. There is evidence of all of this on Kessel Run, the database that we process these reports on. So this is where she's pointing out specifically the smoking gun of where to go ahead and find the bodies of the reports in the system. But move on. From October 2020 to January 2021, I worked the night shift at the time, and very few people worked. As I was reporting on events, news came of blue-on-blue fratricide. Does that mean basically blue-on-blue is like United States versus United States accidentally blowing each other up, right?
Friendly fire. Friendly fire.
Friendly fire.
Gotcha.
Fire.
While I was compiling the reporting, a CIA officer came out of his room and tapped me on the shoulder. He told me not to report it. We had other blue-on-blue events, and we received orders not to report on those events due to potential for, quote, diplomatic scandals, unquote. I live on Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I'm still in the individual ready reserve. I have reached out to Jeremy, Sarah Adams, and Sean Ryan and the show separately, but have received no word from you. I want to testify to Representative Tim Burchett because I am concerned about the Biden administration and our national security apparatus. They lack a fundamental understanding of the national security picture with China, and they are ramping up for war. I believe what I witnessed can corroborate the concerns that Matt Livelsberg addressed in his email manifesto. Interesting. So now we've got someone calling out saying, hey, we've got stuff about UFOs. Hey, the Biden administration isn't taking these national security concerns properly. Almost sounds like Lou Elizondo, doesn't it, Rick? Similar dialogue.
Yeah, it does. It does.
All right. I am not under duress or a hostile influence or control, meaning I am testifying under circumstances of guilt and conscience of my decision not to report on these things earlier. I believe that Berg is still alive because of the tradecraft he carried out on the raw Tesla footage that we saw. Also believe that he was intentional in all of his actions, and while hurried, he displayed elite tradecraft in conveying what needed to be conveyed. I don't know if this message will ever get me arrested, nor do I care. I want you to operate with the assumption that Berg is waiting for people to accept that he is alive and wants to testify before President Donald Trump. If you need my credentials proof, I have previously sent them to Sean Ryan and Jeremy. Concerns, Michaela. Well, coming in response to this, I didn't see she had responses to this. There was actually a retweet of this, or a retweet quote from Representative Tim Burchett saying, please call my office, would love to talk. So I think her message has been made. The person who she wanted to get the ear of at this point is willing to talk with her and try and get this figured out. Corporal Abe?
The only issue I have with this is that she's kicking a fucking anthill mound, right? And she just hasn't felt the ants biting her yet because she's still in the IRR. She still belongs to the military. She's an E4 and she's on Bragg. She has no authority whatsoever to speak out right now. And if she was out, different story, right? And she wasn't on IRR, different story. But I can see how they're probably going to pull her back in and then pull her into an office, have a conversation with her, and then she quite possibly we might not hear anything else from her.
Well,
similar to that E4. Remember the E4, the African American gentleman? What was it, like a month ago, right before Christmas? He came out with this thing, and where is he now?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, my friend. Where are they at this point? So it's just, well, here's the thing. We've got 13 days left. Is it 13, 14 days left until power changes and there's a new Secretary of Defense. Hopefully they won't sweep her under the rug and hopefully they'll invite her up. We know that Tim Burchett already wants to arrange a meeting with her. So very interesting. Rick Doty, you have your hand up, my friend.
Yeah, okay. I've been hesitant about bringing this up, but Michaela's contacted me about 6 months ago, probably August. Maybe I'm trying to find that email right now, but she sent me a messenger message, and she gave me a background on herself, of what she did during during her time in the Air Force, during time of E4. She was E4 in the Air Force is senior airman, and she had a line number for an E5, which is sergeant, but she turned it down and got out. And she gave me a little bit of her story, but not as detailed as you just put up there.
Right.
And I told her that I would get her in touch with certain people within the Senate, staff members who could probably lead her towards a whistleblower a designation. And she sent me back a couple other emails asking about a particular incident that if I knew about it, or if I could find some information about somebody that's already in intelligence about it. I couldn't find anybody within the group that knew about it. Anything. It happened over Turkey, something that happened over Turkey, and not the aircraft, not the UFO that was photographed with the aliens in the portholes. That's she's talking about a different one. Apparently, it was caused the Turkish Air Force to scramble. But so I do know of her, but and I have contacted her back and forth. But what you just put up there is a lot more than I knew about her.
Interesting. Yeah, I picked up on this one this morning, and it was one of those moments of we've got another one. Someone trying to corroborate, but people said January was going to be busy with disclosure, but didn't think we would see it this way. This almost feels like individuals are working to bring it forward versus just any kind of movement coming out of Congress. Ed, you have your hand up.
Yes, I guess this was going to be the night of some disclosure. I want to tell you that what she reported and what that Matthew guy was reporting were frustrations of things they were seeing that should not have been done a certain way. And it was bothering their conscience. Well, here's an example. I think that happens in every war, and they say that the history is written by the people that win. I was in the Gulf War, which is over 30 years ago. And the very first death in that Gulf War was reported as an enemy. It was a helicopter crash, and reported as the enemy shot down the helicopter, when in fact it was weather-related and pilot error. But the powers that be did not want to report that as such, to make it look like we weren't training our crews very well, so they reported it as a combat loss. And I bring that up as an example. It's not a big example, but it's an example that those sort of things happen in every war. They happen in Vietnam for sure. You're going to have people that are going to change the story because they want the history written the way they want the history written.
Yeah, good point, my friend. It's just one of those situations we take a look at, and hindsight is worth more than anything, and it'd be interesting to figure out. Jesus, I'm at a loss for words, kind of just to the poor situation of what we're dealing with a bunch of different veterans going on here. More importantly, the cover-up we've been listening to for so long. Lord McCormick, go ahead.
Oh yeah, fascinating insight there, information from Rick.
Yeah.
But like Ed said, propaganda is such an important. I think Joseph Goebbels was the Nazi minister of propaganda, and they could get entire intelligent people to believe almost anything. And I think he said famously, if you make the lie big enough and say it long enough, you'll get 90% of the people to believe it. And that 90%, even if it's 51% in a democracy, then that's good enough, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I was just curious with you mentioned at the start of the show that we're barely into 2025, and there seems to be a sort of like the damn walls of disclosure are starting to be pressed against.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the fact, how do we now differentiate between the wheat and the chaff? Now, while the guys were talking, I was thinking, if I went to AI chat now, or after the show, or tomorrow, and I gave it a list of maybe 10 criteria, write me a story, I want to be a whistleblower, use all the right acronyms, this Air Force, this date, blah blah blah, and I sent that and got it out there. How many people? How would that become part of the zeitgeist? If then I could just vanish off.
Yeah, but then you're going down. We get a lot of stuff like that on Twitter. We get it on Reddit. We get it on all the different social media posts where someone comes out and just puts out a fake story, fake videos, whatever it is. But as you can see, the community these days is rather sophisticated in being able to track people down and figure out where they came from. Not just that, but to find other people that have worked with them or worked around them to go ahead and try and complete the story. It's a completely connected age these days.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. You know, sometimes, like I say, Thomas, it's just the case. This is what this show gives us the opportunity to talk and bounce ideas off each other. But again, fascinating that this lady, her story is out there already. You know, fascinating. Great stuff, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can really quick before we get on to the next piece here, I want to go ahead and just thank some people for some super chats that have come in during the show today. I've popped little stuff up here and there, but I also want to be thankful for them and remind and thank FaZe Will. Thank you very much, FaZe Will, for that super chat. Disclosure tonight is Disclosure tonight, number one, my heart goes out to our vets and active duty military personnel. Much respect. Hugs, Abe. Going to Ed. Yeah, she's low ranking, but flies on the wall, no wall. That's true. Kane Northrop, thank you very much. Tamisha Bertrand, great show tonight. Thank you for always being such a great host. Much love. Thank you, Tamisha. Appreciate that. Brennan England, $10 Australian. Corgi Castle Long Shuttle. Thanks, Thomas, Mike, for the hard work you do. Thank you, Corgi Castle Long Shadow. ED, is it possible this guy was part of some dark NGO surrounding the human trafficking? Probably not, but interesting question as well. And then Jay Feigler or Fliger is saying thanks for keeping up on all the new developments almost every day. Exciting times, yes, absolutely. I'll turn that off. And on that note, I've got our next piece coming up on talking about the Vegas suspect. That's not it. Here we go. We're talking about drones on the East Coast. Could they may not be from China? Well, I threw a question mark on the end because that's what Ross Coulthard is saying in this next piece coming to us from News Nation last night. Let me go ahead and get this one up and going, and we'll talk about it. Here we go, folks. Let me get that there. And I'll start this up.
Joining me now is News Nation special correspondent and investigative journalist Ross Coulthard. Ross, I haven't seen you in the new year. It's only been 5 days. I haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
It's a pleasure, Xavier. And as you're saying, the drones mystery still continues. New Jersey police have been reporting that they're still seeing these objects. And despite the government's efforts in mid-December to try and suggest that all of these supposed drones, are lawful, there's even been an incident recently reported where a Gulfstream jet nearly actually collided with a metallic object, possibly one of these drones, at 27,000 feet over Florida. So this is a very serious flight safety issue now, and the government's head in sand attitude on this drones mystery continues.
Ross, it's only 5 days in the new year, and it already feels like it's been 5 weeks, right, with everything that is going on. Really quick, I do want to get your reaction to New Year's Day, right? Domestic terror attack in New Orleans. When you saw that, when you heard about it, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, there's been a spate of very, very unusual things happening, Xavier, that I think have been overlooked in the media. Go right back to when a Boeing satellite blew up in orbit, right back to when there were telecommunications and power cables in Scandinavian waters, clearly sabotaged intentionally by a vessel linked perhaps to China. So there does appear to be a hot, cold war going on behind the scenes. And there is growing concern that the drones that we're seeing over East Coast airspace, including over very many military facilities, might in fact be linked to China. But I haven't seen a shred of evidence for that. And everybody who's been suggesting that it was an Iranian mothership, that it was the Russians, now the Chinese, nobody's put up a shred of evidence to support this contention. The government has been conspicuously quiet. I think that the difference between the public attention that's being directed towards these these alleged terror attacks, the New Orleans attack, I think the difference between the incredible amount of focus on that and the fact that we've now had an ongoing presence in our airspace now of mystery objects that are clearly atypical of normal drones, I think the government deserves to give us an explanation. We're in a situation now where these objects are clearly anomalous, and the government is failing to give the public and indeed law enforcement the explanation they seek.
I was going to say, I think...
I want to bring this up really quick here. You see how this drone or whatever it is lit up from the bottom? This is one of the new shapes I saw coming across in the last week or so. They're doing a full illumination just of the front of the and bottom of the plane, which is a really odd illumination scheme going on that usually you don't go ahead and see that in traditional airliners, especially when they're just flying around. Here we go, everybody.
Most Americans can get on board with the government needing to be more transparent in the very least. Hey, there are some pretty radical claims that were made by Matthew Livelsberger. This was out of Las Vegas, the Green Beret, who killed himself before the Tesla Cybertruck explosion. As part of his alleged manifesto, though, he claims that the drones spotted across the East Coast are coming from China. There's a big chance that these are, commentary from, we have to say this, a mentally ill person. But what can our lawmakers and leaders alike do to stop conspiracy theorists and rumors online from swirling and spreading before they start?
Okay, very good point here. There's absolutely no evidence from any of my sources that these objects are coming from China. Everybody's telling me that there is no capacity by China to deliver car SUV-sized drones, so-called, over US airspace from supposed submarines off the coast. That's a technical ability that China just doesn't have. The allegations of Livelsberger, as you say, he was clearly a man operating under mental stress. He was suffering from PTSD and a marriage breakup. Everything he says should be taken with a considerable grain of salt. But is it possible that as somebody briefed into a national security secret, he was given an explanation for these supposed drones, i.e. China, which may in fact not be accurate? Is the government telling falsehoods to its own people to try and cover for something perhaps more anomalous in explanation? We just don't know. And I think that the situation that we have at the moment is we had the extraordinary situation where yet again local aldermen, mayors and police from New Jersey are reporting that these mystery objects are still appearing in the sky over New Jersey, New York airspace, and the government conspicuously has failed to make any kind of an announcement since the 17th of December when it suggested that all of these incursions were supposedly lawful craft of some kind.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com.
Interesting word, unfortunately, was clipped on the end of it, but it gives us a good idea of these may or may not be drones coming from China. The if you want to call it the cat, not the cat. We still haven't come to a final answer on this one. If I could lean on you, Rick, what is your thought? Whether they're from China or not? If you could put your finger up in the wind and test the direction of the air, where would you say it's going?
I don't think they are coming from China. There's too many problems with that story. Number one, I don't think China would risk flying a craft within our airspace, an authorized flight within their airspace. Number two, the logistics. If these drones were Chinese, they would have to be taken off and landing from some place, either inside the United States or in a ship. There are no ships. I mean, you can go to the ship tracker. The Navy and Coast Guard said there isn't any ships out there. They mapped all those ships out there. There's no place around there where there's a Chinese base. We don't have any Chinese bases.
But China is up to dirty works these days, Rick, really quick, because a Chinese vessel cut the Taiwan internet cable that linked the United States to Taiwan. That just happened 13, 14 hours ago. That was initially reported. So, yeah, China is up to no good these days. So hopefully it's not China, but it sounds like they're ramping up their war machine.
Yeah, I don't think it is. My own personal feeling, and I don't think there's anybody within the advanced working group. been a lot of emails exchanged back and forth over the last 96 hours about the drones. Detailed, long emails about from people who worked exclusively within U.S. intelligence for many, many years. Also from a colonel, Air Force colonel, who was he was in the particular Air Force intelligence section that dealt exclusively with Chinese intelligence, both positive intelligence. And he said there's just no way the Chinese would risk such a thing.
Absolutely. It's just one of those things we have to take a look at. I would hope they wouldn't be doing it too. Calling it a false flag, saying the United States, putting these drones up there and blaming it on China. That was definitely part of our bingo card here, Rick.
Yeah, but you know what, Thomas? You've made good points, and I'll tell you why. Because China has been very aggressive. They have set up internal Chinese police
in New
stations
York,
in New York City, and other major metropolitan cities throughout the United States. Plus, if you remember when we had back in February of last year, the 3 shootdowns, what started that all off was the goddamn Chinese weather balloon that flew from one end of the country to the other. And that wasn't the only one. They do it all the time. They really are operating with impunity over U.S. airspace. So I wish we had more information, but their actions that is public information so far shows they're not innocent or quiet in regards to us either. So I agree with the points that you made as well, Thomas.
Yeah. Wasn't there just something that was also, electric lines were also recently taken out last week or so in the Black Sea, or within the last couple of weeks, and it came down to, it was just a Chinese cargo ship. Yeah, right. China's up to no good all around the world at this point, I hate to say.
Plus, they also arrested a Chinese national who was flying drones over a restricted military base.
Yeah, but he was flying like little DJI drones. Nothing yeah.
No, but my point goes to what we're saying, that China is not acting peacefully with the United States.
No. They've said they've also been going ahead and purposely going ahead and practicing and trying to infiltrate all of our water systems, our water treatment systems, either to for some kind of an attack when they're ready to go ahead and throw, disruption into the homeland here, Mike. If we could. Michael Sokoloff, British, and then Ed. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to side with Stephen Bassett because I saw him on Cosmic Road. They did an interview.
But he's been saying disclosure is going to happen now for a long
25
time.
years.
25 years.
Yeah, but what he was saying was that the NHI are going to increase in sightings and further and spread throughout the entire world to force governments to disclosure, was his theory.
Well, I hope they start coming out at daytime, not just not at night, because at nighttime
that may be the next step.
Well, I would certainly hope, because, some of the crap that I've got video of, these things purposely are moving at 14,000 miles per hour because the human eye can't pick this stuff up. They're cloaking themselves, so you can't see them in visual spectrum. You can't see them on radar, but you can see them at negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit on a scope. So it's just, they need to get out of playing peekaboo.
Says, I don't believe that China, I'm with Rick on this. I don't believe that China would risk a world war or a war at all. Yes, they can flex their muscle, and if the opportunity ever came where they could just walk in, they probably would.
Do you think, though, taking Taiwan would set us into a world war?
Only if they fire a bullet.
Oh, they will.
The current administration said that if China was to invade Taiwan, the United States would back Taiwan up. So, that would get us into
Japan has said the same thing as well.
Right.
And Japan does have an aircraft carrier now.
The Philippines said it too.
It's like when China retook Hong Kong, that was a situation that the Western world had no control over. The lease was up. The British had to leave. And
But there's no lease on Taiwan at this point.
no, there's no lease on Taiwan, that's for sure. But they were our allies during World War II. So, yeah, they got to be there. The United States will defend them.
Taiwan? Absolutely. I would certainly hope so.
Just like they would LA.
Yep. Absolutely. Let's go on to British next. Actually, Ed Brown is next then. British put his hand down.
Well, I think when you've gone through all the possibilities and you've ruled out everything but the last one, then the last one must be the real case. And we have not yet touched this word, but I guess if it's not Chinese and if it's not Iranian, if it's not any known nation, it's not Russia, and it's not the United States, then the only conclusion you can draw is based upon NHI.
Mike wasn't. I think though, Mike, there's been statements from Lou Elizondo about the drones on the East Coast being from the United States, hasn't he made those?
Yeah, he has alluded that it's possible that it could have something to do with covert U.S. operations that they don't want the public to know about. Yeah. The incoming president-elect said the same thing. He said the government does know where they're going, where they're coming from. So, yeah, that's right, Thomas.
Yeah. Does that make sense, Ed, kind of?
Well, it does. So that is a possibility. If we can eventually rule that out, keep trying to get us back to the NHI. Have you noticed that?
Oh, yeah.
That maybe they are, in fact, doing what Michael was suggesting earlier, is just making themselves a little bit more known, you know, day by day, week by week, month by month, to where we're forced to admit some disclosure.
Well, as soon as we start seeing some real sightings during the daytime, more than just orange orbs flying around places of things we can't figure out what is actually going on, and there's some sightings that go on where it's not just one person, but we have hundreds or thousands of people making the sightings, then we know we're going to be making progress forward. Until then, Stephen Bassett can hang it up on the wall next to his diploma. Freezerman 71, your hand is up.
Thanks, Thomas. Maybe Rick can chime in on this as well. One of the theories that Stephen Bassett was saying was that the NHI are making themselves known. What if it's possible that these drones are advanced U.S. tech, the United States is setting them up to observe the NHI and vice versa? That was one of the theories that Stephen Bassett had come up
but
with.
wait a minute. Hold on to it. Yes, we do have that on our bingo cards right next to the picture of some mantis beings and the places they're from. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the possibilities, is that we're putting our drones up there, not necessarily to go ahead and observe the UAP, because their technology is so much faster and can just run rings around our stuff, but potentially to go ahead and throw the drones up there so the sky is filled with all these different objects, and the actual objects that we should be paying attention to, the NHI, aren't being picked up because everyone's focusing on the drones. Right, Freezerman?
I was thinking that could be a possibility. But if you're the United States, you're not going to want your enemies or your own population to know what you've got.
Yeah, potentially.
I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Rick Doty, your thoughts. Your hand is up, my friend.
Yeah, a couple things. I agree that it could possibly be a...
Oh, shit.
We just can't imagine why they would be doing it. Some highly secretive. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. We dropped out for about 5 seconds, and the connection came back. There's something. Ever since I upgraded to the latest version of this Mac operating system, I've had issues with my connectivity. Sorry about that, Rick. Go ahead.
That's right. It could very well be some kind of secret operation that we're running, flying our advanced, maybe highly secretive drones for some particular reason we just can't understand. And the other thing I want to say real briefly is the Chinese spy balloon that flew across. There was an article in a military magazine 5 or 6 months after the incident happened in January 2023. Is that, and in that article, it said that the United States government obtained more intelligence on Chinese intelligence gathering capabilities by tracking that balloon all across the United States. And one reason we didn't shoot it down was that we were gathering a lot of intelligence, and we also detected a Chinese satellite that was in orbit that we didn't know was up there by tracking this balloon. The balloon was sending signals to this satellite, which was then bouncing back to China. But we were able to tap into that signal, which we have a better capability of doing that than the Chinese does collecting intelligence from them. A SIGNA or ELINT operation.
Right.
And so that's probably one reason why, I think that was a good reason why we didn't shoot it down until it got over the eastern part of the United States out in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, makes sense, Rick. Absolutely. Thank you for that insight. British and then Syrup, and then we've got a deep dive into one of the new cabinet members, the new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and a lot of things he's said in the past that bodes well for disclosure coming forward in the next 4 years, if not a hell of a lot sooner. Syrup, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. I was just curious. Has anyone confirmed whether or not these drones were doing anything that would be considered advanced technology? Like, holy shit, look at the, like, was there anything that wowed people or anything? Was anything confirmed?
No heat signature, not detectable. It'd be able to be tracked with signals operating on something that's completely unknown.
Or it's in a classified communication band that general civilian technology can't pick up, Mike.
Well, supposedly the government is claiming that they have no knowledge of it either. They can't track it.
Yeah, but come on. Trump has already said that the White House knows what is going on, and so does the DOD. So to say that we can't figure out what's going on, I think there's something more to that going on, Mike.
Oh, no, I agree. But then again, it's also possible that there is some sort of advanced tech associated with these drones.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I would say they're definitely not off-the-shelf drones that any consumer or industry could go ahead and buy. These are probably more of the state-of-the-art out of our drone arsenal, like we should have the picture on our title card of the XP4 drone. This could be the XP5, the XP7, the XP10. Who knows what they are?
That may have some breakthroughs that's not known by the public.
Yeah, battery breakthrough, propulsion breakthrough, whatever it could be. Really good methods to go ahead and disguise themselves as so they look like they're a commercial airliner from the bottom, but heck, they're only the size of an SUV. So it's not just in the operation that they're at and what you see from the sky, and they may be purposefully be disguised for people to see them and think they're one thing when they're actually something else, like they always say about UFOs, right, Mike?
No, you're right, Thomas.
The only reason I was asking was because I would think, and I could be wrong, but I would think that if it was China, the last thing they would want to have happen is to have a breakthrough technology of theirs shot down and studied.
But so far, these objects have not been shut down. Plus, they were over restricted military airspace that has cutting-edge anti-drone warfare equipment that had no effect on these drones, which is
Are you talking about the stuff that was going over Langley?
Yes.
That's a completely different thing that happened well over a year ago, Mike. The stuff that was going over Langley was a different kind of tech than what we're seeing over the eastern seaboard right now. It's a different completely operation, because the operation we're having now is not focusing on military bases coming in from the water up the river, going over Langley and stuff, and then circling around and coming back out. This stuff is coming in fleets going over areas of mass population. Can you see the difference between the two things? So it's kind of like saying we have to separate the incursions over Wright-Patterson, the incursions over Langley that have been going on, that one for a while ago. This whole thing that started on November 18th or 16th, right around that time frame of the drones coming in, that's its own operations theater, right?
No, you're right. But it still has the possibility that whatever breakthroughs in technology that these objects may possess could be superior to our anti-drone capabilities at the moment.
Well, the ones on the East Coast, the ones that are coming over Langley, right, Patterson, the ones that were coming in over the airfields in the United Kingdom, all of those are completely advanced drones that would not respond to the technologies they had at that time to try and bring them down. We can say that, though, about the drones over that would have been on the East Coast, homeland invasion, let's call it.
Okay, but the ones over Lake and Heath, like you just mentioned, that's recently.
Those are more likely Russian Chinese.
Potentially,
yes.
Or. But I would lean more with Chinese than I would Russia. No. Obviously, because if Russia had any advanced capability, Ukraine would have been solved a long time ago, not 2 years and going.
That's true. You never know.
No, you never know. But there are things going on that we're not aware of and is being hidden from us and the public.
You could say they're like two peas in the pod until Russia has its fall and then China goes in to take over a bunch of territory. You never know where it's going to go.
No, we don't, but we're going to be following it every step of the way.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Exactly. British, go ahead.
Thank you. I was just going to say that talking about Chinese drones, they discovered or uncovered an underwater drone that China had sent into the coast of Taiwan. I don't know if anyone saw that. It was like yesterday or the day before. A yellow,
haven't seen that one. No,
submarine-looking thing. I mean, it looked very. Well, let me say, it looked very basic if you compare it to the thought that they're sending gravitational drones into the coast of America, right? Anti-gravity devices come into America from a submarine. It does also just bring up the question of why would they need a submarine to launch anti-gravity drones from? Couldn't they just launch them straight from China if they're capable of traversing the universe, against the rules of gravity, right?
Yeah.
The actual reason I raised my hand is I had a scan through, or quite a deep scan through Michaela's Twitter account or X account. Very attractive young lady who is apparently ex national security personnel. So she said in October she was ex national security. She is an alien experiencer and reveals future alien communications.
Oh boy.
Bringing people into what she calls a new age of enlightenment.
We have a lot out there like that. Trust me,
So
I run into a bunch of them.
We'll take that as it comes, but I think it's worth looking into her background and comparing it with some of the stuff that she's been saying. But that's it for me.
Appreciate it. Thank you, British, very much. Rick Roberts, go ahead.
Hey, I think this would be a good time to survey the audience. Do we think this is a Chinese asset, our asset?
We've done this one many times, but we can do it again.
Just seeing where they stand with all the revelations. I mean, you and Mike were talking about and discussing into pretty deep there. So that's what I was thinking.
Sure. Oh, we've done this one many times, about 5, 6 times, 8 times, 10 times.
And it switched. Remember when we first started doing
it kept on shifting more and more towards it being United States. So, USA.
In the beginning, it was aliens.
But that was one time, and as time went on, it was 50-50 for a while. And then we went down to like 80-20 or 70-30 by the end. I'll just do it this way. The drones on the East Coast, right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Simple enough. I'm going to take it down to 2 answers, 2 possible things. Okay, folks, for the drones that have been seen on the East Coast for all this time, where do you think, what are we dealing with? Are we dealing with human origin, or are we dealing with UAP alien origin? It's the last one where we had it last time. Let's see where our audience takes this. It's been about 2 weeks or so since we've had this one in the past. Let me go ahead and bring this up here, bring it across, and let's just go ahead. Google, set a timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds, please. Let me get that up.
1 minute and 30 seconds. Starting now.
Okay, audience, this is your chance to go ahead and vote tonight. What do you think? The drones we've been reporting on for the from the East Coast, going back almost a month now, starting on December 18th when we hit it. Are they of human origin or are they of UAP alien origin? We're talking about majority of the sightings. There may be some 1 or 2 offers here or there that could be UAP, but the majority of the sightings that have been out there, are they human or are they UAP? Rick, how would you vote on this?
I would vote human origin.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, Mike, how would you vote on this?
Oh, human origin.
Yeah.
I agree.
Ed Brown, how would you vote on this?
I'm going to go with NHI.
NHI. Corporal Abe, how would you vote?
50-50.
You got to vote one or the other. Punch a card.
NHI.
NHI. Wow. We're getting there. None of you business. Susan Ford, all the way from Australia. How would you vote for your Aussie friends?
I'm with Corporal, NHI.
NHI. Wow. I'm going to vote for human origin on that one just because I've seen the videos. I've looked at a lot of the still images, and what we've been seeing for the most part has been, at least in my humble opinion or my over-opinionated opinion, which can be overbearing at times. All right. That timer that went off, yes, I would say they're human origin. Let me get this here. Let me go ahead and get a snapshot of this. We're close. 45 to 55% of our audience said that, yes, human origin wins one more time. Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up, Rick Roberts. It's always good to poll our audience and see where we fit, and that's worth 253 votes. Remember, folks, if you're having a good time, do us a favor. I haven't asked yet today. If you haven't subscribed to Disclosure tonight, you've been watching us so far, please give us another chance. Hit that subscribe button. More than not. If you're watching the show, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. We'll take one or the other. Would love to have you go ahead and support our show. The more answers we get, the more that YouTube takes notice and shares our shows, because look at that. We've got about 1,200 people watching the show right now, and how many likes do we have? I can't even find it right now. There we go. 366 likes. So we got to be doing something wrong. Remember, folks, do me a favor, hit that like or dislike. Would love to have it. Thank you very much. Rick Doty, you have your hand up, my friend.
Yeah, one thing I just want to remind everyone that effective November 8th, which would have been just a few days after the election, Donald Trump started receiving national intelligence briefings, and this is was reported by both National Security Advisor spokesperson John Kirby and also Pentagon spokesman Major General Ryder. He receives both the DoD and the U.S. intelligence briefings beginning on November 8th. So he probably was already briefed on what at least what the Pentagon thinks the drones were. So he probably knows and can't say because it's classified. All these national security briefings are top secret, and I'm sure the DoD ones are too.
He wouldn't even answer the question. Did you receive a security briefing on this, President? It's like, no, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm not going to answer that because clearly he did. He said the president knows what it is, and he said the Department of Defense knows what it is. So clearly someone's not telling the truth, and I would basically put the hat on who's not telling the truth on the Biden administration. Hate to say it, but it's kind of where it seems to be. Ali Alvian, you have your hand up from Sweden. It's pretty high because I can see it all the way over here.
Yeah. Well, nice to see you all, guys. An interesting subject as always on this show. I want to take the opportunity to address my question to Rick Doty. You've been telling us stories about where you were on cases when you worked with the intelligence, and you found out that you had NSA agents investigating the same guy that you were. So there were two agencies then overlapping each other, and you didn't know of each other's activities. And from what I understand, I think we have now 16 different intelligence services in the U.S. And from my own point of view, then I wonder, I see it is like to herd a flock of cats, these 16 different intelligence service. And my question to you, Rick, when it comes to the presidential security briefings that he has from Pentagon, how the hell does Pentagon gather a complete picture of the intelligence activities within the different agencies here, to have track of what they report, what they're working on, and what they're not reporting on or not working upon? How do you on a daily basis have control over what they are doing?
Director of National Intelligence.
Rick?
Rick, wouldn't that be the Director of
Yes.
National Intelligence?
Yeah. What after 9/11, under the U.S. Patriot Act, there was created a National Intelligence Operations Center, and that National Intelligence Operations Center contained intelligence entities from the CIA, the DIA, the military, the FBI, which is they have their own intelligence division under the Foreign Counterintelligence Division Bureau, and they all are daily, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They're gathering intelligence from not only around the world, but also around the United States. There's also a network, a national under the National Law Enforcement National Law Enforcement Act of 2006. There are a lot of state agencies, not everyone. There's some agencies that will prohibit their state law enforcement agency to gather intelligence. But if there's 35 states that do gather intelligence and feed that intelligence to the National Intelligence Operations Center. Unfortunately, New Mexico isn't one of them. We're a very liberal state, and we think it's a violation of the rights of the citizens to be spied upon. Hawaii is another one. Washington State, your state there, Thomas, doesn't allow it. California doesn't allow it. New York doesn't allow it. But there's 35 states that do gather and contribute to the National Intelligence Operations Center.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay, so follow-up question there, because I think it's also, again, it's a question of trust from the Pentagon. You know, there is a massive intelligence service that you have with agencies. So if I were in head of all that, I would be very eager to know that the reports I have is the one that I expect, the one that I decide. Just what kind of reports in what area or what subject that I want to have. And my way to solve that would to be put people directly from my own office. If I was in the White House, in the Pentagon, I would put an operative who's working for solely me, but is in a lead position with a lead authority within each the intelligence agency, to secure that the government interest is always prioritized, and I can check the activities that's going on within each agency.
Right.
That kind of control mechanism, I wonder, Rick, is it there? Can Pentagon really rely on that they don't cover, that the agencies don't cover for themselves? if you see where I'm going.
Well, I see where you're going, and I would say before 9/11, it operated that way. In fact, before 9/11, the Central Intelligence Agency could not collect, nor could they contribute any intelligence that they might have run across domestically. They had no domestic powers. After 9/11, the CIA gained domestic powers, collection powers, and it's only collection. They still don't have any law enforcement powers, but they have collection powers, meaning they can collect intelligence from within the United States if it deals with foreign governments or foreign operations. They can't collect against U.S. citizens, you and I. That's up to the FBI or the National Security Agency. National Security Agency has a mandate to collect intelligence any place. That means in the United States, your home in Sweden, or any place in the world. And that's for not law enforcement purposes, but it's for intelligence purposes. We have a massive building in Utah that every single telephone call placed either coming in the United States or going out of the United States is tapped and recorded. So you got to be careful what you say.
Yeah, we have similar buildings here like that in Seattle, Rick.
Yeah.
Although skyscrapers that have no windows.
Yeah. But the CIA has offices in the United States now in different places. They call it domestic collection, but again, they don't have any law enforcement functions, but they do. They do.
Jesus Christ! It went down again. Son of a bitch.
Interesting one, because I had personally spoken with Senator Rubio or former senator.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much, Rick. Just an additional question then. So
You're done.
how about when you have...
Ali, we've got to move on. We're out of time. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just
Thank you, Ali.
Yeah, the same activities when you're abroad, like for in Ukraine now, or in the Middle East and so on. Or is there any cooperation between?
Ali, I just said we have to move on. I appreciate the comments and the questions. You've taken up a bunch of time, but we need to move on to our next piece. I've got additional things I need to cover before we get into it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Now, I know some people in the back. Sage Pup, you're out. Yes. I've asked you several times, do not come in the back. Do not unmute yourself until you go ahead and are called on. You are out of the back. Thank you. Second time I had to take him out for doing that. All right, let's go ahead, folks. Yes, I've got stuff to cover here today to be able to get through it. Wow. Let's have some fun on this one. One of the things people want to ask questions on with regards to what's going on in the Trump administration, where are we at? What's going to be heading our way in the near-term future? Well, one of the people who's going to be the Secretary of State is Marco Rubio, and I've got a bunch of classic clips here of Marco Rubio going ahead and talking about disclosure, talking about why it's important. Let me go ahead and yes, he's not blinking. He's frozen, my friends. I've got like 3 clips here I want to go through, if not more, for us to go to and just listen to in the past. Where does our future Secretary of State stand on the point of disclosure? So let's get to our first one here. Here we go, folks.
You're on the Foreign Affairs Committee and you're really involved in foreign affairs. There've been a lot of articles lately about UFOs. I know this question is a little out there. Is there any truth to any of this?
Well, we don't know. All I've said is we have people that have very high clearances, both today and in the past, who did really important work for our government or continue to do important work for the government, who have come forward with some claims about the U.S. having in the past recovered exotic materials and then reverse engineered those materials to make advances in our own defenses and technologies. That's the claim they make. Now, I don't know if those claims are true or not. What I do know is that one of two things is happening here. Either they're telling the truth, and that is something that obviously would be the biggest story in human history, or we have people in really important positions of government who are crazy. and who are out there making up stories and who are still in positions of importance. Either one is a big problem. So we've got to figure out which one of these two it is, because the second one in particular would be very troubling. But we don't. All we know is claims that people have made. These are credible people that have done and continue to do important work for the country. And by law, we're required when they come forward as whistleblowers to take their claims seriously and to investigate them. But we just don't know. That's the answer.
All right. So first clip from Rubio going ahead saying, there's some idiots in power who don't know what the hell they're talking about, or we have a true problem. Either way, we need to get to the bottom of the truth. Our next clip coming in. This is an older one. Holy cow. Let's go ahead and play this one. Here we go.
Before, and what we learned from yesterday was that these UFOs cause a pressing threat to America's national security, as the highly classified briefing apparently were things that those people did not know before. Do you believe that these unidentified flying objects are new technology from our adversaries?
I hope they're not. I don't know what they are. I don't think the Navy or the intelligence community knows what it is. But I think the point is you're never going to find out if you don't start looking. For many years, it was just being ignored. It was like, it doesn't make sense. We've never seen it before, so don't report it. We don't know what it is. Look, we don't need a report to tell us it's a national security threat. It's flying over restricted airspace, and it isn't ours.
Right. And they're flying over restricted areas. Well, we'll know more, I guess, in a couple of weeks when that Pentagon report is public.
Yeah, they're late. They got to hurry. It's been due already.
Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
There we go. So there's another part with Rick Doty coming out, not Rick Doty, with Marco Rubio coming out and talking about the importance to go ahead and bring out the truth on disclosure. In this next video clip we've got going on here, in the last one, I think, we've got Marco Rubio on unidentified objects over military installations. Something we've been talking about with what we've been saying of the drone situation over Langley Air Force Base and Wright-Patterson, most recently on the East Coast. But this has been going on over a lot of bases over the United States. Let's go ahead and play this next and last clip here, folks, and we can talk about it. Here we go.
CBS 4's Jim DeFede spoke to Senator Rubio.
Jim, perhaps on a much lighter note, Senator Rubio wants naval intelligence to prepare a public report on UFOs. What's that all about?
So, as the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Senator Rubio very quietly, just about a month or so ago, attached into a bill that's working its way through the Senate, this idea of wanting to know some of the aeronautical, differences that we're sort of seeing. What we call UFOs, he doesn't want to use that term. The Navy doesn't use that term, but he says there are objects flying over military bases, encountering civilian airliners, encountering military jets, that they just cannot explain these phenomena. And he wants to know, now, is it from another galaxy? Is it from China? These are the questions that he's trying to answer. And he says there's no reason to keep this information classified. He wants the Office of Naval Intelligence to issue a report, go through everything, release it publicly, and let's try to get some answers.
Look, here's the interesting thing for me about all this, and the reason why I think it's an important topic, okay? And that is we have things flying over our military bases and places where we're conducting military exercises, and we don't know what it is, and it isn't ours. So that's a legitimate question to ask. I would say that, frankly, that if it's something of outside this planet, that might actually be better than the fact that we've seen some technological leap on behalf of the Chinese or the Russians or some other adversary that allows them to conduct this sort of activity. But the bottom line is, if there are things flying over your military bases and you don't know what they are because they're not yours, and they exhibit potentially technologies that you don't have at your own disposal, that to me is a national security risk and one that we should be looking into. And so that's the premise I begin with.
Let's clear this up. Who would be looking into this? And they would be generating some sort of a publicly available report on, you're not using the phrase unidentified flying objects. You have another euphemism for it, unidentified aerial phenomenon, which is not.
I didn't come up with that. That's the one that the military uses internally, and ultimately, that's the one we used. And what we're saying, so the Office of Naval Intelligence, this is has impacted the Navy for the most part. I've seen reports on this now for the better part of a decade. Other countries have had similar reports, and so. But for our perspective is, there is someone flying in the airspace that no one else is allowed to fly in, and we don't know who it is, and it isn't something we have. We need to know what that is. I mean, that's in my mind. I mean, I don't understand why we wouldn't want to know what it is. Maybe there's a completely sort of boring explanation for it, but we need to find out. And so that's really what we're asking about, and we're asking them to make public as much as possible that information. None of that really fits into the mold of classified per se.
All right, but what's your gut? Are we alone in the universe, or is there something else out there?
I don't have a gut feeling about it because it's a phenomenon. It's unexplained. I just want to know what it is. And if we can't determine what it is, then that's a fact point we need to take into account. I wouldn't venture to speculate beyond that.
Wow. Marco Rubio definitely has a bunch of stuff to say. Mike, your thoughts? I think he's a great choice to have for Secretary of State. More importantly, he seems to be very positive about disclosure and bringing out the truth, no matter what it might be.
I would agree. I believe that he's probably going to be the most forward-thinking, progressive Secretary of State and people in the cabinet, and we've had in a very long time. So this is going to be an interesting year, an interesting government and administration, and where it goes, we're going to follow every step of the way. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah. I mean, when we had the shoot downs going on over Dead Horse, Alaska, the Yukon, and then in the end over Lake Huron, when we were not getting briefings coming from the Department of Defense, Marco Rubio was quoted at that time for something saying around the end, well, you know what do you think if this could be Russians, Chinese, or UFOs? And he would say, I would almost was hoping these things would be UFOs, because if it was the Russians or the Chinese, we've got a lot bigger problems.
Oh, he's right. He's got the right attitude, the right approach. And for the first time, an administration that's going to be in power that is going to be taking things a lot more seriously than what we've seen in the current administration.
Yeah. Thank you, Rick. It's something we're definitely, Mike, something we're definitely trying to figure out and get through. And, as John McLean just said in the chat, citizen journalism, I love it. Thanks, Tom, for your work on our behalf. That's what we try to do here, right, Mike?
It's the reason we're here, Thomas. This is why we do this.
Yeah.
We have normal, regular lives and our families, and we could be busy with that, but we make sacrifices, put the work and the time in so that the public can have access to truth and transparency, because we're not going to get it from the government or the authorities.
Exactly. Good points, my friend. Good points, exactly. Now, if we can, we have a couple some people in the back to go ahead and finish off the show with some questions. Let's go to Scotty first. Scotty, go ahead. You need to unmute yourself, Scotty.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We got you.
It's more of a comment. I think the biggest secret that the United States government is withholding from the people is that China is the one and true superpower of this world. And all their UAP technology is on display. Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate it. Everyone's got an opinion. I see Corporal Abe didn't like that too much. I don't think they're the one superpower of the world. Let's say that. I thought that was our job, but time will tell. British, go ahead. Your hand is up.
Yeah, what if the truth of disclosure was so horrific that when people find out the truth, they do everything they can not to let us know? Just a very small, thought exercise. What if non-human intelligence had done a deal with the US government to hand over tech in exchange for abducting the population?
Oh, I would say initially abducting, but then for materials from abortions. It used to be pretty popular here in the United States, but yeah.
What would happen if that news got out, right?
Oh, let's just go ahead and see what's going to happen potentially when we go towards disclosure. Yes, remember, these things are not human. They're called alien for a reason, because they are so potentially different from humanity. They don't have love. They don't have music. They don't have caring. They don't have the compassion that humanity has. All the different times we want to take these different pieces of humanity and paste it on this non-human intelligence, but what if that is just so shocking and so alien and just so foreign to what we understand? It'll be a shocker. That's a fact. But you know what? Whatever it is,
Okay, I veer between spending half my life, desperate for disclosure, and more latterly, and this is only in the last probably 6 months, kind of terrified of disclosure. So I've got
Don't be afraid.
Foot in both camps.
Because if you're afraid, you're never thinking right. You have to come at it with a clear mind, no matter what. That's the key.
That.
Uh-oh. Well, look who's coming here to say hello, Mocha. How you doing? Thank you very much. Danielle, go ahead. You have your hand up, my friend.
Yes, sir. I'm a retired police, former Marine. I'm a Marine veteran. And I want to just bring you back to the fact that the Coast Guard people, they reported seeing over a dozen drones flying around. So when the government comes out and says there's absolutely nothing, but you have Coast Guard, they're not lying.
Oh, hell no.
Come out and lie.
I believe what the Coast Guard said. What the DOD said to discredit what the people of the Coast Guard had said.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Absolutely. And then you have the state police following an aircraft. Following one, and then they give up on it. Being a police officer, they're not in fear. They're not going to be run away with their tail between their legs. They were either called off, or something happened to their electronics, and they thought they were going to crash. And then I'd like to hear Rick Doty. I'd like to hear his opinion on if you had a never-ending bank account and an imagination, how would you get all those things over here? And why are they flying all over the earth? And how would you build a submarine that big without us knowing it? And how many would you have to have?
Oh, China built one nuclear submarine and it sank. Within 6 months before it was even deployed. So it seems more sense that it would be coming from some kind of a carrier, not necessarily a submarine. Because if you have 50 of these drones that you're deploying every night and they're doing their stuff, they have to get them out there one by one and have them go ahead and be deployed, but then they have to come back and they have to land. You have to work on them, you have to service them, you have to get them ready to be turned around for the next day to do the same thing again. You're talking about a
giant logistics, huge logistics, and I think it's impossible. So it'd have to be our tech, rogue tech, or it has to be UFOs or whatever. It has to be one of those two. Because Russia, they don't two nickels to rub together now because they're almost broke in Ukraine. They're using North Korean forces. Yeah. So those are our options, and none of them are good.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make that point.
Absolutely, thank you. I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you for your point.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Brian Pemble, your hand is up, my friend.
Yeah, hi, Thomas. I just want to bring one controversial topic up. I think the Gang of Eight should be done away with. Why should only certain members of the House of Representatives and the Senate only receive certain intel? Why not all the representatives of the people receive all the intel, and then they can make the decisions and write the laws that the president can sign off on?
Yeah.
I understand this is very controversial. And I really appreciate Rubio's stand, by the way. He's the only one of the members of the Gang of Eight that have come out and talked about this. But it should be eliminated. Why create different classes amongst the congressional constituents? It's insane. And so I would hope that the incoming administration would do away with the Gang of Eight.
Right. Well, you know what? When it comes to disclosure, it's not going to require the Gang of Eight. It's not going to require one member of the House of Representatives, one member of the Senate. What we're going to get for disclosure this time is going to be disclosure driven from the place where it's covered up, and that's the executive branch. And I think that's where we're headed, Brian.
Exactly right. Exactly right. But I would rather have the Gang of 50. I would rather have the Gang of 418.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the people that we elected. We did not elect just the Gang of Eight for the entire nation.
Congress gets upset when they go ahead and they bring out a 1,500-page bill. The people won't just go ahead and blindly go ahead and vote for it without even reading it.
That's exactly right, Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
So we need to return more power to the people. I'm with you.
Oh yeah, let's make lobbying illegal again.
Everything should be in a blind trust.
Oh yeah.
And I believe in paying the congressmen and women, as well as the, the senator and the House of Representatives. They should get paid more money, but everything should go in the blind trust.
They make good money, and they need to be limited in how many terms they can be in office. More importantly, we should make it a law that Congress, members of Congress, for any lobbying or any activities, that people and those activities are not allowed to spend more than the price of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on a lobbying schmoozing meal, period. No fine dining, not spending thousands of dollars to go ahead and bribe the people of Congress. The most they're allowed to spend, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I get that idea from Tim Burchett. Rick Doty, your hand is up, my friend.
Brian, I'm behind you on that, but you got to understand that at least the last Congress, there were 146 members of the House of Representatives that could not get a security clearance. There were 31 members of the U.S. Senate that could not get a security clearance.
Yeah.
And they can't get security brief. So, and that was in the Biden administration.
Yeah.
I think even when the Trump administration comes in, I think I can see the writing on the wall that there's going to be a lot more than those 146 House members that can't or won't have a security clearance.
Is that the same number? Is it the same? I think it's 146 members of Congress who also voted against a bill that was put forward, actually passed, that basically said that if a illegal alien in the United States committed a sex crime against this, in the country, that they would have to be mandatorily deported. But I think it was 146, 156, I think, voted against it. All Democrats.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. All Democrats. Exactly. Yeah. That's and I just can imagine that the Trump administration is going to tighten up that. One of the members of the Muslim community in Minnesota who was in the Senate, she could never get a security clearance.
I mean, Tlaib.
And she fought. Yeah, Tlaib. But I think one of them was defeated. But she fought and fought and fought for that. But she could never do it. She could, because of her past and her relationships to some terrorist groups.
Yeah.
So, but
God, who's a representative from what do you call it, California, who had a relationship with a Chinese spy?
That's Schiff. He's a senator.
No, that wasn't Schiff. That wasn't Shifty Schiff. It was the other guy.
Was it Schiff?
Weinstein.
Not Weinstein, no.
Dianne Feinstein.
No, not Feinstein. No. It was a guy from...
Sorry, Feinstein had the Chinese driver. It was the other gentleman, the younger one.
Yeah, Swallow.
Swalwell, whatever he calls him.
Swallow. Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah. And the answer goes to Paul DeMond. Actually, no, Stillwell. Snarf McGrew said it before the first person was, I think, was it Paul DeMond said it first?
Swallow.
Yep. Paul DeMond said it first. We got it then. Yeah, sorry, Rick. Good points, though. Oh, well. Oh, boy. Mike. What a great show. What a great opportunity to hang out with friends. Is there anything we haven't covered yet tonight, Mike?
No, I think we covered a large range of topics.
Oh, yeah.
Information that was very interesting that's been occurring over the weekend. And we covered it on today's show from Monday.
Yeah. For one of those days where I was stressing and figuring, what the hell are we going to talk about today? Boy, we had more than enough to talk about.
Quite a lot, actually. So, yeah, that was fun.
Oh, heck of a
conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And Rick joined us.
Did you get a new burger?
I did.
Yeah. Baconator?
Yes, sir.
Ah, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So you turn into a shitty situation literally into a good one.
That's right. When you got lemons, you got to make lemonade.
Oh, no. If you get lemons, you can't sell lemonade for more than a quarter a glass. You actually have to give it away. If you get a lot of lemons, make lemon drops. Invest in some vodka. Why? Because you'll have the housewives lining up to pay $10 a glass. Am I right?
Oh, you're 100% right. I agree.
Yeah. A little bit of sugar, a little bit of vodka, a lot of vodka, and fresh lemon juice. Oh, it's so wonderful.
Go.
All right. On that note, I want to go ahead and thank everybody for coming in tonight. And more importantly, I want to thank everyone for your wonderful super chats tonight. We had a bunch of them from Brian Pemble and Faze Will and ED and Kane Northrup and Tamisha Bertrand and Brennan England, Corky Casts Along Shadow, ED again, and Jay Fliger starting out the super chats tonight. Thank you very much. More importantly, I want to also thank the people who've been in the chat hanging out with us tonight. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about 4TP, Amiga Rules, BW Broom, Blunder Bill, Bradley, Colonial's been here along with Covington, Coniving Robinson. Good to see you. Christopher Albers. Also, Corporal Abe, Craig Smith, Curly Jeffs, Delta Echo, Dennis Eads, Dirk Ridley, Donovan, Edwards been here along with EJ. We had Ernie along with F Phantom. F is for Phantom, yes. Firefly. Also, Gene Hess, Great Awakening. I want to thank Hans, Harry Rodriguez, Heiser Soze. Jan has been around along with Jason Brown, J-Cat. Jeff has been here along with Jay Fliger. John Mooner. Juliana's been here along with Kathy and Kelly Broughton, those piercing blue eyes. Good to see you, Kelly. Kelly Joe has been around along with Coffee Cat. I think Lisa Marie Sales. Lit's been here along with Lorraine. None of your business. Lucky 81 Jewel along with Mammy. Mammy, of course. Man's been here along with Mario's Taco. We had Minnow, Nancy, Nicholas, Nightshade, Paul, Peggy and her South Florida friends. That includes Crockett Tubbs and Steve. Fazebull's been here along with Rabbit Leader 230 with Raul, Rainstorm Hunter, Rays, Rick Doty out in the chat and in the back. Right Meow's been here along with Right Cleek, Roland Gibbs, Rude Panda. How about that? Rough Reddy, Sam, Scowling Wolf, Sean Ryder, Snarf McGrew, Space Coast Flights, Tamisha Bertrand. I also want to thank Truth Seeker. V's been here, along with VMFE, Wingman 777, Yankee 58, Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy, who was at work. Good to see Andy. And F5 Twister. Holy cow, what a full house it's been tonight. More importantly, I also want to thank... and see where that's at right now. I also want to go ahead and thank our friends in the back that have been with us tonight, asking some great questions. Brian Pemble, thanks for coming out today, Brian.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you much.
Thank you, British. Appreciate your questions.
Thank you, Thomas.
Corporal Abe, appreciate you being here, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Love you all. Happy New Year, guys.
Yep, absolutely, Abe. Also, Daryl Zernick, thank you, sir. Live long and prosper.
Thank you, Thomas. And I can't wait to ask Mr. Rick about his Hong Ron Da in the background.
Ooh, we'll talk about that after the show. Let's thank Ed Brown. Thanks for coming out today, Ed.
Good being with you, Thomas. And for Rick and for Daryl, all of those guys out there in that cold weather, stay warm tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Bundle up. It's cold out there. Also want to thank Lord McCormick. Thanks for your questions tonight. Freezer Man 71. Thanks for your hanging out with your new camera.
Thanks, Thomas. Great to be here.
Great to have you here as well, my friend. Also want to thank None of Your Business. Thanks for flying in. Hopefully your arms aren't too tired.
No, arms aren't too tired. Never too tired for you, Thomas. You know that.
Oh, absolutely. Rick Roberts, you know, when you had your finger all screwed up, surprised you didn't grab that roll off the wall and just twist it up.
Anytime.
Well, I did, but it was just so much blood. So
Squirting everywhere, huh? Wow. Also want to thank Tia Maria. Thanks for coming out today, Tia.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Thomas. Thank you. Great show.
Absolutely. And TVT, I appreciate you hanging out.
Hey, thanks. Enjoyed it tonight. A lot of good information. Good show, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Rick Doty, thanks for coming out.
Oh, you're very welcome. I wouldn't miss it. Total world. This is a great show tonight.
Awesome.
And really great questions. I learned a lot, too.
Oh, yeah. We're always learning on a daily basis, my friend, and that brings us back. Go ahead.
Just jumping into the end. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Thomas. Great show. Catch you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. And that brings us back to Mike. What a great show. Thanks for coming out today, my friend.
Oh, my pleasure. And yeah, it was a fun conversation. And when Rick joined us, there was a lot to talk about and go back and forth with.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, no, it was fun, informative, and I'm sure the audience enjoyed it. So,
oh gosh, yeah, they've been hanging out. It's been a great time for everybody. Thanks for everybody coming out to Disclosure tonight. Wonderful to have you here, Mike. And as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone. But
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely, we'll catch you in the flip side. Good night, everybody. Y'all come back now. Here, see you soon. Bye bye.